two certified legends and veterans in the rap game have reunited to drop a full-length project that has been one of the most highly anticipated albums of the year, especially if you are a fan of traditional hip-hop, or if maybe you're one of those trapped in the 90s folks. And that's not a dig, just a Nas line. What is good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Mob. If you're rocking with this content, go ahead and smash that like button up for your boy. Also subscribe if you haven't. But today I'm gonna hit y'all with my thoughts on this new project from Common and Pete Rock entitled The Auditorium Volume 1. So we have one of Chi-Town's gods, Common Sense, and a New York producer GOAT, the Chocolate Boy Wonder. Now that's a Chi-Town to money earning Mount Vernon connection. Both of these gentlemen briefly collaborated in the 90s, most notably on the Ice Cube diss, The Bitch and You, as well as Verbal Murder 2. But now they have finally linked up to do a full-length project. The expectations for it have been really through the roof. There was a pretty extensive album rollout, and the early singles did a good job of recapturing a feeling of traditional hip-hop that many are still in demand for. Now, I do have a lot to say about this project, so I'm just going to get right into it. It has 15 songs. It lasts about 1 hour and 3 minutes. All the production done by Pete Rock. So with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with that track-by-track breakdown. The opener, Dreamin', is set to a glistening soundscape that samples from Aretha Franklin's Daydreamin'. You get some hits of trumpets in the back to give it that golden touch. And on this record, Common is paying homage to many of the greats who have influenced hip-hop over the years in black culture, whether we are talking about hip-hop artists themselves or famous soul and R&B musicians and just black activists in general. So you have quite a bit of powerful, imaginative lyrics from Common, and I think it's a record that's extremely hard to dislike or hate on. You know, Common, when in his thoughtful bag like this, he really excels, and he does right here gel well with Pete Rock's blissful beat. Track 2, Chi-Town Do It, has a rugged, playful beat. I love the dusty horns and the Kanye and James Brown sample. Yeah, this track just evokes a real distinct Chi-Town flavor. Common is rapping with the slower flow, doing some storytelling, dropping some slick romantic bars, some crisp lines where you got me fiending, I want the average Jodeci. So this is a classic Common wordplay going on here. But yeah, overall, a chill but funky head nodding track. Now, song 3, This Man, it's probably a 5 mic record. You get this warm, rich, soulful instrumentation, the Pete Rock horns, of course, and a somber soul sample. And this does feel like Chicago on a warm summer night. You know, this one, Common talks about being the perfect man for this job to help restore that feeling in hip hop, and it plays well into his into the This Man sample on the hook. Common states, had to let it go or in time be frozen. Hip hop is a movement. I stayed in motion. So those lines really speak to how Common has stayed relevant and inspired over the years. He's been active, he's been outside, he's not just an OG who's, you know, rested on his laurels. I also liked I hold down the fort like I'm Jeff. Every time I rock my hat to the left, it reminded me of Seth. And if you know older Common albums, this is likely going to take you back to 97 with that single, Reminded Me of Seth. Common also declares himself as rap's James Baldwin, and we do get some Kwanzaa references and, you know, just culturally relevant, uplifting bars as a whole. Fantastic track. The following, We're On Our Way, is also one of the standouts. Now, this is set to a groovy Curtis Mayfield sample, and Pete Rock here, he did give me some RZA meets Kanye vibes for some reason. But on this track, Common is dropping some stellar conscious rhymes like, I've risen with the wisdom of the elders, food, clothing, and shelter, prosperity, health, and joy is what I knelt for. I've been dope once I learned who I dealt for. So he's talking about how his life changed positively after getting knowledge of self. But yeah, throughout this track, you did have thought-provoking imagery, pro-black lines, mixed in with some 5%er wisdom. And this track also felt innately Chicago. This is followed up by Fortunate, and it has a shimmery instrumental with that Spanish sample that makes for a breezy record. That did have somewhat of a Dilla feel production-wise. And on here, Common is talking about all the ways he's been blessed and fortunate. Some examples are his mom, his grandma, his elders, being raised in the Windy City itself, and of course, he is fortunate for Pete Rock. So altogether, another track that is dope, that's hard to hate on in my opinion. It's very classy and feel good. The subsequent song, So Many People, takes on more of a slower, contemplative approach. Sonically, the hook from Bilal seemed a bit more rooted in neo soul. And as good as this track is, at this point in the album, I honestly could have used something a little more up-tempo. This song isn't bad at all, but it did take me several listens to really warm up to, because my mind honestly was just geared up for one of those bangers that would take the album to the next level for me. But on this song, Common is talking about the qualities of destiny, faith, and hope, and he was able to tie them together cleverly in a storytelling fashion. And thankfully, we do have the first banger on the project in the form of Wise Up, the earliest single that had the MC Shan, the bridge sample, and it's an ideal head-nodding track that just exudes street energy. Common was coming through, you know, with his book of street ministry. The style of rhyming here, obviously inspired by cats like Rakim, G-Rap, Tragedy Gaddafi, as well as Big Daddy Kane. This still ended up being one of the best songs, even though I heard it several times prior to the album. Some standout lines were, "My man ain't from Dallas, but he knows where the text is. Hold him, my poker face is golden." Immediately after is A God There Is, and this is my favorite slower track on the album. It has a gorgeous soulful instrumental that just reminds me of eating a wholesome home-cooked meal with the family on a Sunday. And Jennifer Hudson, she came through with some powerfully sung vocals to take it to that next level. Some notable bars from Common were, "Hope the gates of heaven ain't too finicky. May I enter thee, smelling like Hennessy." They do pick up the pace with the following song, Stellar. And it's backed by a crunchy boom bap beat and vocal scratches of Neat the Exotic, which at first sounded like Be Real until I realized that they sampled main sources faking the funk. But yeah, this is a complete bar fest. Common really embodies this energetic beat. He said, "God MC, I came in a man's form. When I return to dust, it'll be a sandstorm. Also, over bras, I'm never tender. With love, I force MDs to surrender." And it was written like I'm living in a sonnet. They marvel at me like I'm a comic. Iron sharpens iron, man. It's ironic. Yeah, Common was going off here, letting us know that there's some real men at work. Word to G-Rap. Things mellow out a bit with the track Lonesome. Now, this has a soothing 1960s vocal sample that did give off almost a Finding Forever feel. There was that soft lullaby quality to it that did mix well with the dense drums. It's the most introspective song, and he's talking about feelings of loneliness and how some of his relationships just come to an end. Some dope lines were, "Learned love from my moms, from my pops, I got charm. Grew up around the stones, they taught me to rock on. With that, the world accordingly. They knew that there was more to me. Learned to love the mic, so I pursued it Jordanly." After this is all kinds of ideas. Another definitive Pete Rock production. We get a return to the boom and bass line, the faint horns, and the Rakim vocal scratches, and it's really hard to lose with Rakim vocal scratches. The same can be said for Big Daddy Kane and Biz Markie. So Pete Rock was in his bag instrumentally, and Common came through to do some damage, like them monkeys been programmed, them I throw wrenches, hunger for the game, your thirst never quenches, you search for mentions, I unearth dimension. So he's reminding us that real hip hop calm came to his senses. Next is When the Sun Shines Again, and it's a breezy track featuring positive notes of De La Soul, R.I.P. Dave, and this is backed by some summery keys, a soulful hook, and a sped up version of the classic Roy Ayers, Everybody Loves the Sunshine. And that's another sample that you just can't go wrong with. It's hard to lose on that. Now, vibe-wise, this did put me in the frame of mind of some Native Tongues meets Soul Aquarians, and let's say that Raucous Records, Lyricist Lounge era. Common states, money ain't swaying me. That's the Dave in me. Some took shots over bars, they ain't grazing me. Then there is Everything So Grand, and we get some jazzy instrumentation that has more of that sophisticated cosmopolitan sound. Like you could envision Common just strolling through a downtown section of the city somewhere in some grown up attire. It's just real dapper vibes going on. You get a hook from PJ that does feel a bit Amy Winehouse-like, or perhaps I could picture Lupe rapping over this for some reason. Then the last actual song is Now and Then, and it's a high note to end the album with. It really has a classic Pete Rock instrumental, in my opinion. The sound is so many things. It's warm, it's soulful, it's urgent, moody, yet mystical at the same damn time. Some standout bars were, hoping I could be better. They said, fine forever, I just want to be. Killers want to swarm. The world is kind of jaded. I just keep willing on. Just peep the wordplay. Also, Southsiders trying to get rich without priors. Getting rich without dying. I admire young messiahs from the theories of the low end. Enter like the dragon, bragging when I go in. So you had references to Richard Pryor, A Tribe, 50, and Bruce Lee. Yeah, it's probably a top 3 song on the album. Then this project officially wraps up with the outro, where Common, he's doing some cool spoken word over a soothing beat to close things out. So overall, I'm gonna give this project a rating of a strong 4 mics. When it's all said and done, maybe a 4.5. I don't know. It's too early to tell. Now, I gotta be honest. When I first heard this initially, I was slightly let down, and I thought to myself, this is no higher than a 4. And the reason I felt that way is because I thought some of the tracks were a bit low energy, or I could have used a couple more songs in a vein similar to like Wise Up and all kinds of ideas. But after more listens and after just accepting it for what it was, and that Common was going in more of that grown man direction, I grew to really enjoy this project. Pete Rock really showed and improved once again while he is one of the producer goats. Fortunately, it did contain his signature instrumental outros in between a lot of the tracks, and the scratching. The crunchy scratching was on display as well. That being said, I still wish the album could have been sequenced a little better for my ears. As you recall earlier in the review, I said there was a moment or two in which my ears could have used something a bit more up-tempo, and I still stand by that as much as I enjoyed this project. And it's not that the slower tracks weren't good, I just feel the pacing and the sequencing could have changed a bit. You may think that I'm nitpicking, and maybe, but since I'm seeing a lot of album of the year 5 mic talk on social media, in my opinion, to get a 5 mic album, in addition to everything he did, you gotta have a banger or two. And for Common, some examples of what I would consider more to be bangers sonically would be tracks like Southside with Kanye, or The Game from that album, or records like Real End Quotes, or let's say The Energy of Getting Down at the Amphitheater, or Hungry Hip Hop Junkie in the City. Those are just some examples. Well, yeah, overall, I think many people will be very pleased with this project. And like I said, yeah, it did meet expectations, especially after 5 listens. That's when it all started to make sense. And given that it is listed as Volume 1, I think it's safe to assume we will be getting a Volume 2 at a later date. My favorite tracks include Dreamin', Chi-Town Do It, This Man, We're On Our Way, Wise Up, A God There Is, Stellar, All Kinds of Ideas, When the Sun Shines Again, and Now and Then. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you consider this to be an album of the year? Is this a classic album? Let me know below. It's your boy Mixtape Moth. I am signing out. As always, it's peace and blessings.